On the day I finally went to get my last boxes, my wife turned to me in the hallway and said with that forced smile, "I'm going to destroy your life in court, you know? You won't win anything." Her voice was cold, calculated. There was no sadness, only the satisfaction of one who was about to execute a wicked plan. I am a corporate lawyer in New York. My job is to deal with billion-dollar mergers. I live by analyzing risks, predicting movements, and anticipating betrayals. She, however, thought that it was enough to be young, cry at the right time, and have a good theater to bring down everything I built. The 11-year age difference between us has never been a problem for me. But for her, the difference in wealth and power was everything. I was her safe haven when we met, but I quickly became the target, the trophy she needed to loot. I am the husband, the provider, and in her view, the sucker who would be silent while she made up the perfect story to take half of my assets. The silent tension had been going on for weeks. She walked around the house as if she were already the only owner. I, on the other hand, walked like a detective in my own life. I'm a man of routine, precision, and the clutter in the house, her little accidents, started to bother me long before the threat of divorce came up. A wine glass accidentally broken on the Persian carpet, a scratch on the car door that she swore was already there. Little lies that were piling up. At that moment, I stopped being a victim. I became an observer. I stopped reacting to her drama and started just recording. What she didn't know is that I wasn't just her tired husband. I was the guy who installed a very high-definition security system in every corner of our house on the Upper East Side. Not out of mistrust initially. It was the standard security that is expected in Manhattan, but the system was mine. The main access was to my work email, the only one she didn't snoop on because it was too annoying. She thought that it was enough to delete the messages from her cell phone and speak quietly to her lover to get rid of the evidence. They spoke as if I were invisible. I overheard a whisper from her in the garden. "He's dumb, Mark. He's going to swallow everything I say about emotional abuse." I was silent, but inside me, something screamed. Not of anger, but of an icy clarity. From that day on, I started monitoring everything. Not with hidden microphones, but with the cameras in the house, which she considered only luxury decoration. The abusive attitudes of the two began to escalate. They began to hide documents, whisper behind doors. Her lover, a personal trainer with a dark past in Miami, was instructing her through audios, and my wife was rehearsing the role. I saw her in the mirror of our room practicing expressions of pain, forcing tears. She made what she called the victim look. I also saw the video of when she broke her own favorite frame, threw it on the floor, and then took a photo, sending it to a friend with the caption, "Another terrible fight, I need to get out of here." She wanted to hurry. I wanted a quick divorce without contestation before I could react. She had greed. I had the documents. And more importantly, I had the time. I realized that I didn't have to win by shouting. My game was different. It was the cold patience game of a corporate shark. I continued to go to the office every day, acting normally. I let her believe that she was crushing me, destabilizing me. That was the tactic of her entire family. Her mother had done the same thing with her first husband. It was a standard, a manual on how to marry to get rich. They tried to rush me with aggressive lawyers' letters, filled with vague accusations. I read each one, wrote down the points, and kept them. I was just filling out the dossier. I remembered reading my great-aunt's will years ago. My cousin tried to disqualify me from everything. "You're not going to win anything, you know," she told me. History seemed to repeat itself, but this time, I was no longer the boy. I was the silent predator. The irony was that she was giving me the perfect material for the defense. Every threat, every fake tear, every broken object was a brick in my wall. The day came when I could no longer postpone. My plan of action required me to leave the house for the next step to happen. I called my assistant, asked him to send the final package to my personal email, but with a copy to the professional, and I went to get the rest of my things in the closet. She followed me there, turned on in confident bully mode. She wanted the final showdown, the big show before the courtroom. "You're going to regret underestimating me," she growled, crossing her arms. I didn't answer. I just put a few more shirts in the case. She raised the tone. He started screaming that I was dangerous, aggressive, unstable. Exactly the script that her lover had told her to follow. "I'm going to tell the judge about your temper. You have no idea what I can do." That's when she did the final scene. She took the small crystal vase on top of the dresser, a gift from my grandmother, and threw it on the marble floor. The noise was deafening. The shrapnel flew everywhere. She cringed, covering her face as if I had done so. She was preparing for the photo, for the proof of violence. But before she could even open her mouth to stage a cry, the house spoke. A soft but firm warning tone came from the safety panel near the kitchen. My cell phone, which I had left in my pocket, vibrated with a notification in my professional mail. The security center, automated with my programming, had detected unusual activity and sent the alert with the video recording to my address. She froze. The noise of the vase breaking still echoed, but the sound of the cell phone was louder. The alert was a sound she had never heard before. I looked at her. The expression of anger and triumph faded into confusion and panic. My phone vibrated once again. The email was complete. I just took the cell phone out of my pocket, and I turned the screen to her. I didn't have to say anything. The video began to rotate. The first scene was clear. She scratched her arm with hair-owned fingernail to make a red mark. The color disappeared from her face. She was pale, her eyes wide, fixed on the video on my phone. The audio of the video, which I kept low, showed herself whispering, "This is for the judge to see. He's going to pay for getting me out of here with nothing." The cell phone vibrated again. Another email. I slid the screen. The second video was more brutal. It was from 2 days before. She was in the foyer with her lover, Mark. They thought the hall camera was just for the front door, but she captured the whole conversation. Mark was giving the instructions. "You have to look fragile. Create a history. Tell him. He's cornering you financially. Break something, but don't hurt yourself." The lawyer said that the first impression is everything, and she replied with a cold laugh, "With this, I win everything, and he has no way to prove it." That laugh disappeared from her face in the hallway. She trembled. Pride evaporated. There was no more theater, only the naked fear of those who were caught red-handed without makeup. She tried to speak. He opened his mouth, but what came out was a choking sound. I didn't give her a chance to make up another lie. I just continued to swipe the screen, showing the dossier. The third clip. She was in the guest bathroom, which she used as a rehearsal room. She was repeating aloud the speech she was going to give in the family court in Manhattan. I felt insecure. He made me feel small. I just wanted my space, but he used the money to control me. The performance was impressive, I must admit, but the context was the proof. It was the rehearsal of a fraud. I saw her rehearsing, crying for 15 minutes. She would stop, wipe her eyes, and start again. I am the husband. The corporate lawyer she underestimated. I know that the best answer is written in a notary's office. She tried to get closer, trying to get her cell phone, but I took a step back. "Don't touch me," I said, and my voice was that of a stranger. Cold, heavy, emotionless. She stared at me. There was a sudden realization in her eyes. She was no longer dealing with her sentimental husband. I was dealing with the lawyer. She retreated again, her back touching the wall. The fourth clip. This was the best. It was only an hour earlier. She was kicking in the door to our room, the door she had just accused me of kicking in. She was kicking hard, making the noise, and the camera captured the clear audio of her breathing. She stopped, looked at the door, smiled, and took a picture of the crumpled door, sending it immediately. At that moment, she stopped being a victim. She became an observer of the disaster itself. Her plan was that of every predator. Create the narrative of abuse, secure a temporary restraining order, and get me out of the house quickly. She wanted the rush to court, the immediate settlement based on my emotional guilt. But I had time. I had the documents. And most importantly, I had the camera system that she didn't know worked as a confession recorder. "You can't do that," she whispered, and this time the fear was real. "What can I do? Show the truth?" I finally spoke. "You threatened me with the court, didn't you?" She wanted a war. I gave him a silent checkmate. She started to cry for real. The cry of despair, not the rehearsed cry, but it was too late. I'd seen the performance. I watched her for a moment. The woman I loved, who I brought into my life, was there, reduced to a handful of lies exposed by a $10,000 security system. She started begging me. She said she was confused, that Mark had manipulated her. I listened in silence. I didn't have to win by shouting, I just let her talk to herself. The fact is, in the corporate world, if you record the negotiation, you control the negotiation. And she had recorded her own crime. My office had already received all the videos. My lawyer, the best in complex New York divorces, was just waiting for my signal. Revenge was not fighting. It was letting her lose alone, incriminating herself in front of the cameras of the house I paid for. I looked at the broken vase on the floor, my grandmother's gift. That was the picture of our marriage. Something beautiful but fragile, which she destroyed out of sheer greed. I bent down calmly, took a piece of the crystal and put it in my pocket, not as proof, but as a reminder. She wanted to hurry. I had time. I went back to the closet, closed my suitcase, and looked at it. She was standing in the middle of the hallway, her hands covering her face, defeated. She had tried to destroy me, but she discovered, too late, that she was the one who destroyed herself when she rehearsed the role of the victim for the only witness she never noticed: the house. I walked past her and down the stairs of our 3-story house. She didn't follow me. When I arrived at the door, my cell phone vibrated for the last time. It was my assistant, confirming that all the videos had been attached to the divorce petition for inappropriate conduct and fraud. My case would no longer be about the division of assets. It would be about the extortion attempt. I opened the door, took a deep breath of the cold Manhattan air. Cheating on a husband is easy. It is difficult to beat a husband who woke up and had already activated the security system. I left home. But what I left behind was not just a cheating wife. I left irrefutable proof that she had become her own and only prosecution witness. Sometimes the best answer is written in a notary's office. I started my car. My revenge was not to fight. The door closed behind me with a satisfying click. There was no screaming or melodramatic scene she expected, just the sound of my own calm. I was injured, yes, but I was firm. This was not the end of a marriage. It was the end of a fraud. I got in the car and drove toward Midtown Manhattan, not to my usual office, but to a more discreet place where my lawyer was waiting for me. As I drove down the West Side Highway, I mentally reviewed the chronology of events. She had greed. I had the documents and the videos. Her plan was simple and cruel: to use the law to punish me for succeeding, turning the division of assets into a personal vendetta. What she didn't know was that I had realized her dirty plan. She thought that as a M&A lawyer, I would be too distracted to notice the movements at home. But I get paid to detect systemic risks. A risk in my marriage was just another contract to be reviewed with extreme caution. Weeks before, when the lies became unbearable, I started working from home, in secret. She thought I was depressed, destabilized. The truth is that I was calibrating the security system. The house's monitoring center was not just for outside intruders. It was set up to detect unusual activity inside. Screams, breaking objects, long whispered conversations in specific areas. And everything was encrypted and mirrored to my professional email, which she would never touch. When I arrived at my lawyer's office, Robert already had his eyes fixed on the screen. "You've exceeded all expectations, Alex," he said, not taking his eyes off the monitor. "This here turns the divorce from a property dispute into a charge of perjury and fraud. It's a slam dunk." He showed me the dossier. The videos were organized, synchronized with the text messages she exchanged with Mark, her lover, and her lawyer. The script was visible, the fabricated history of abuse. My heart felt no anger. I felt a cold exhaustion. I wasn't celebrating, was closing a chapter of betrayal. I remembered the anchor phrases I kept in my mind. I didn't have to win by shouting. The lawyer explained to me that her attempt to create the scene of violence, throwing the vase on the ground and accusing me, had been the coup de grace against herself. She didn't just break an object, she broke the presumption of innocence. The camera caught her in the act. Her lawyer called minutes after you left the house. I was hysterical, Robert continued. She realized that all the facts of their case were recorded as fiction. My wife's lawyer was now in a terrible ethical position. She had based the case on evidence she now knew to be fraudulent, created by her own client. Justice is not always shouted in the street. Sometimes the best answer is written in a notary's office. I didn't want her destruction after all. I just wanted my freedom and for the truth to be reestablished. My initial divorce filing was simple. Now, my counterattack was overwhelming. Not only for the maintenance of all my premarital assets, but for the reimbursement of all the legal costs she forced me to have. They spoke as if I were invisible, but in fact I was the observer. The revenge was not to fight. It was letting her lose alone. The process went fast, like a runaway train for my ex-wife. Family court, especially in New York, hates fraud. The judge barely needed to hear my testimony. The videos spoke for themselves. At a preliminary hearing, she tried the last card, the sincere crying, now real, the apology. I looked at her. She looked small, her makeup smudged. The 11-year age differences seemed to have multiplied by 30. I looked at the judge, and he only said, "Your Honor, the documentary evidence shows an orchestrated attempt at fraud to extort my assets." I have nothing to add to her confession recorded by herself. I was silent, but inside me, something screamed, the feeling that the truth had prevailed. The judge suspended the session and called the parties to the chamber. The sentence came quickly, coldly, and humiliating for her. Not only would she gain nothing, but she would be held responsible for the costs. She wanted to hurry. I had time. I returned to my temporary apartment that day, feeling the weight leave my shoulders. It wasn't about the money. It was about dignity. She tried to steal my life and my reputation. She didn't steal. It just destroyed itself. I learned an expensive but fundamental lesson. Never underestimate the need to document the truth, even within your own home. To deceive a confident man is easy. It is difficult to beat the man who turned his house into a courtroom, where the prosecution witness was the security system itself. My revenge was not to fight. It was to let her lose alone. Your greed has become my proof. I realized that I didn't have to win by shouting. My calmness was my strength and hers was my weakness. All that was left of her in my life was the broken crystal in my pocket, the reminder that not all damage is physical. Betrayal is always sharper. But I was free, and she, exposed. The silence of my apartment was now one of peace, not tension. The battle had been fought and won with videos and emails, the language of my world. The final divorce decree arrived by email, in an anticlimactic way. There was not that grandiose scene that you see in the movies, just the coldness of the New York legal system confirming the death of a relationship based on greed. My ex-wife, now just a name on a document, received the news in silence according to her own lawyer. I never saw her in person again. The only contact was the formal reports of my lawyers, confirming that she was complying with legal obligations. She had lost everything she'd planned to take from me. The plan of destruction became his own destruction. I reflected on the difference between haste and time. They wanted to hurry. They wanted the immediate signing of the divorce under duress before I could breathe. I had time. I had the calm of a man who knew that the truth, if well documented, always wins the farce. She had greed. I had the documents. And the videos. Mainly, the videos. The lesson that was marked was not about the pain of betrayal, but about the power of observation. I went from potential victim to observer. At that moment when I realized the foul play, I changed my posture. I didn't become a passionate detective. I became a risk analyst, applying my corporate skills to my personal life. I saw her rehearsals. I saw the lies being built brick by brick, and I did. I let her build her own trial cage. Her mistake was to believe that my silence was weakness. I was silent, but inside me something screamed. It was not a cry of anger, but a cold warning that the battle would not be fought in her field. The emotional, but in mine. The factual. She spoke as if I were invisible. She whispered to her lover about how to bring me down in court. They didn't realize that the security system, which they saw as a luxury, was actually a recorder of confessions. At that moment, I stopped being a victim. I became an observer. I realized that I didn't have to win by shouting. The strength was in the record, in the date and time. That little crystal vase she broke in our hallway trying to forge proof of violence was the most expensive proof she could have given me. That noise triggered the system definitively, sending not only the clip of the break, but the compilation of all its other frauds. It was his self-incitement. She taught me that greed blinds, and pride destroys. She was so certain that the family court would give credit to her youth and her rehearsed tears that she completely ignored logic. She ignored that a judge in New York is trained to detect manipulation. She ignored that I was an expert at detecting billion-dollar lies. She thought my job would make me dumb in my own home. But I am the husband, and I woke up. Cheating on a husband is easy. It is difficult to beat a husband who has woken up. My revenge was not to fight. It was to let them lose alone. Sometimes the best response is not a shout, but a court sentence. It is a notary's decision that annuls the game. I have lost nothing except the illusion. And the illusion, well, that one I didn't want to keep. I rebuilt my life, focused on work and peace. Today, when I look back, I don't see their sentiment. I see only the precision of an executed plan. The lesson is simple. If you are threatened with destruction, make sure that the truth is your only witness. Let the predator incriminate itself. My story is not about revenge, but about silent and legal justice. It was a checkmate executed with elegance and irrefutable evidence. And it all started the moment she, in the hallway of my house, thought she could destroy me, but she only destroyed herself. That was my story. The story of how the security system became my defense witness, of how her greed gave me freedom. If it were you, seeing your wife in the hallway, making that threat and throwing that Vasedo forge of proof, would he have faced her screaming, or would he have waited for the silence of the camera system to deliver the truth to the judge?